and beings have appeared. The evidence is all around. Buddha's bodhisattva's here. The atmosphere is changing now. Pure land beings have appeared. The evidence is all around. Buddha's bodhisattva's here. Overflow in this place. Fill our hearts with your love. Wisdom surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your grace. Your power surrounds us. We're the reason you came. Grant your blessings, your name. Bestow your mercy. The power of your great vow can empower us now. Bestow your mercy. Great holy beast, fall fresh on us. We need your presence. Your kingdom come, your will be done, here as in heaven. Your light surrounds us. 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 Your light surrounds us.
That was really nice. Last night we did the Vajrasattva practice down here last, and I'm really not the visualization person. That's not too much part of my practice. Never has been. Never really. I kind of tried before, and okay, this is the thing they say to do, and let me. I've made some effort, and like, I can kind of make some pictures in my head, and try and do these things. Like, it's not really doing anything, and so that's pretty much as I'm like, okay, that's not for me. I've always let it kind of just drift by the wayside. I know some people it's really, I have some friends that are like, that's their sustaining thing, and that really encourages them and for years, and like it's a deep, deep practice for them. And it really was for me. Last night, okay, I'm just gonna do this because that's what we're doing. Okay, I'm here. What else you gonna do? I mean, that's what they're doing. It's all right, just sit down. And I didn't really particularly make any special effort. Like it's like, boy, oh yeah, sometimes it's I'm really gonna get it this time and all that mess. No, I didn't even really know what Vajrasattva practice was. I had no idea. I'm like, okay, as we're going through tonight was singing about the light surrounding us. Last night was these visualizations of light coming from Vajrasattva to penetrate and to fill us up and um, kind of to purge these things. We got all these dark things in us and cluttered up things, and just letting that kind of come in and just push that stuff out of the way, or even just that light come in. And when it turns on, the darkness, oh, it's gone. You turn on a light, it's not like the dark that was in here goes and hides in the closet and waits to come out later. Just it's gone. And so last night was this feeling, and for some reason it clicked last night, and like, oh yeah, I could really visualize Vajrasattva, and even like usually I can kind of get this little hazy picture of the deity or wherever we're working at. But I even had the mantra underneath was lighting up, and like this. And I hate it when people talk about this actually, but well, I won't say I hate it, but it's not my favorite thing on the buffet. I'm not going to go back for lots of that. But yeah, so like, yeah, that was, it's like, something like, and I was like, well, I'm going to actually do what it says. And yeah, I pictured these things, purify my body, and definitely I've had, I mean, my body's been, I just had my second hip replacement 2 months ago. So um, that's been, on my mind for in my awareness a lot. So kind of like, yeah, letting that light come in, whatever's in your body, just kind of, well, I think they had us picture snakes and scorpions, but I like the picture. It's gross, but it turned into me as like the classic. If you've ever been in the rough hotel and you turn on the lights and the cockroaches, that was what me was like. All this stuff that's aggravating my body. You turn on the light and it's like, oh, I don't, this problem's in my body. I don't want to be here. I'm out of here. So we did that, and then we did penetrating to our also purifying our speech. And that was like, you're kind of like, I'm this vessel that's filled with crud, but you just keep pouring water in until that stuff just kind of floats up to the top, and you just keep pouring it in until next, and that's all, it's all gone. So and purifying our mind, it was just picturing that really a dark cloud in your heart, which is just, I've been carrying that for really for a year. Just a lot of the social things is like, oh, it's dark times, and so I'm in dark things going on, and it can't help but I try not to carry that and be that, but you can't help but some of it rubs off on you. It's inevitable. And oh yeah, so let that, and it really was like I was feeling the shift, like, oh, I'm feeling happier, I'm feeling better, like, oh, it's really like doing something. And by the end, I could like really just feel like this flavor of like, oh yeah, there's, I know I kind of concocted this thing and I'm doing it, but yeah, well, we got to do stuff. You can't just sit around and wait for something to fall on you, and oh, everything's all better. So like, yeah, but the flavor of that last night was like for some reason, it seemed a little different from the light inside me. This morning, the light surrounds us. And that's always been part of, I really kind of, for years, I was more into old school, the really regimented Buddhism, and a lot of the thing of a real mindfulness practice is to spend time, you contemplate internally, and you pick whatever you're looking at, and you look at this internally, how is it in here, and look at it externally, how is it out there, and also how is it in here and out there. Oh, now what? So it's like really had a little different flavor when I was picturing just in here, and it's just me, and that was great. And it felt good, and it was somewhat personal, not terribly, but it was just like, oh yeah, it's a better situation in here for me. Um, and I guess just hold over from that of being able to feel the light was like, oh, that's a pretty song. But I was like, really was like, I wasn't so much feeling that. It was more, I was a little bit more solid, but just that the light was surrounds us was like kind of in this room, and everybody, and all these people that are coming in with your own internal, what's external to me is internal to you. That's what's going on in here. And like picturing, oh, it surrounds us. So it's all these people touching, like, and feeling it's kind of out there. And then it's like, of course, things just radiate. And it's like, well, if it surrounds us, anybody else that walks in the vicinity, they're just going to walk into it. You can't help but run into that. And then like, well, really, I'm just picturing it in this room, but it doesn't stop anywhere. It just is out there. And I was trying to kind of reconcile that and tried to, okay, let me do, oh yeah, it tastes like this in here, it tastes like that up there. And I really couldn't get in the time because of course it's kind of emotionally overwhelming, but I could really get a feel for, okay, both of these at the same time. I kind of had it so I can tell, oh, that's a little bit just maybe part of where I'm at. Of some of it feels a little personal, some of it feels like projecting, and some of it feels like also coming in this way. Some of it that I feel surrounding me was I was just watching everybody come in, and I was just kind of, I won't say I was jealous, but I was like aware of the fact that I live in a little cabin in the woods in the backwoods of East Tennessee. It's like 70 miles and an hour and a half to the closest Sangha. And there is no like resident teacher or anything. It's just kind of a Kalyanamita, just a peer group Sangha. We all take care of each other, encourage each other. And that's great and that's good. But kind of feeling that light that happens because, um, when I come here, I just open my doors because it's safe. Number one, it doesn't matter what I bring. Just open up the doors of your heart and let it do whatever it's going to do. So I can feel that, but I can feel like, oh, what it's like to be around people in robes. And, what is it like to be like, oh, for people that like, I get to be around somebody in robes on a regular basis. The sutras talk about the benefit of just being in the presence of someone who's made that commitment. And you kind of take that mostly, usually I have almost always is like, yeah, for us as lay people, it's encouraging to be around somebody in robes, but then also it's got to be encouraging to somebody else in robes to be able to see another person in robes walking around. Because it could be, I mean, it's lonely for me as a lay person. And I can still go to the store and blend in with everybody if I want to. Well, what is it like if you're the only person in robes for 2 hours in any direction? What is that like? Who's helping you out? So I'm thinking about how sweet it is that encouragement. Um, yeah, so that's all the nice, good stuff about it, but it's also really the whole time I've been here, just carrying a lot of paradox. Which really I kind of started, I guess, when I was here about a year ago. I had a short conversation with Venerable about it was kind of like we were wrapping it up, and I just like, and you know what else? And you know what else? Like, obviously, I love the Sangha, and I love, you know, uh, most of the Sangha, my peers and people around me, and have so much deep gratitude and respect for the teachers that have come before and people that have passed things on through writing and teaching, and that's how that got here. But 15 years ago when I was like, okay, I'm diving into this thing, there was kind of a certain flavor that was available, for somebody who's by themselves. And you can order some books, you can listen to some talks on YouTube, as it wasn't as wide as it is now. You can sign up and go to some retreats. At Southern Dharma was the closest place then for me. Go to a couple of retreats with people, and you kind of pick up what's the prevalent thing. And I'll say, I'm kind of pissed off at what it was offered to me, the way it was offered. I'm very grateful because like literally I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for what they did give me and those tools. And it was good starting point, and like it was all true and it was good. What was given to me was good things in a toolbox, but particularly I was, talking about, I don't know if it's just I guess because of what I lean towards, that's what I mostly found. But what I mostly found was like, yeah, you need to, of course, make your everybody's like, make your commitment to Sila, at least, do your 5 precepts. And well, that sounds normal for most people. Yeah, yeah. But somebody who maybe has come from struggling, like those things are like, well, maybe that's why I'm here, is because I can't do that. And like you're saying, well, that's the first step I've got to do. Some things are like so regiment. Like first you got to be perfectly clean up your act. And then, so once you got your Sila down pat and your routing, you got your 5 precepts and you really deep in those, never break them. Now, once you do that, you can start on your concentration. Now you can do your meditation, because you got to have that. You got to have your place clean before you sit down. And in a way, that is very much true. It is true. But also, like, well, if I wait till I never make a mistake till I sit down, what's the use of sitting down to meditate? I'm good already. Like, what am I? I'm like, so I finally just give up, like, well, I'm just going to start anyway, do what I can in the meantime. And it's frustrating because it's frustrating because, of course, when people write articles, they want it to look good and be flowery and paint all the good stuff. And if you do this, here's the wonderful results. If you plant this beautiful, you plant rose bushes, you get beautiful roses. Well, you also got to get there and sweat and get cut by thorns, and you got to do all this other stuff. Like they kind of usually mention that as just a little aside, oh, and sometimes you got to do some work, or sometimes it's a little bumpy in the road. No, oh, sometimes it's awful. Nobody told me about that. Nobody was, I won't say they were dishonest, but they kind of leave that out. And I know some people need to have that left out, but I like, no, I'm ready to tell me whatever you got to tell me. And really nobody would, and and then once you finally, don't even start on your insight practice until you can enter jhana whenever you want, come out, and you can be standing in line at the grocery store, and you know, some people like almost, well, pretty much literally say that, like, you're not ready for insight. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to wait a few more lifetimes because hey, where I was at, like, that's not gonna happen. I can do what I can with my samadhi practice, but like, let me do some. And yeah, it's very, very messy. It was very messy the whole time. And so the paradox there is that, like, I can't even express like the overflowing of gratitude and appreciation and love I have for what I did have, because I still had enough to work with. And luckily, for some reason, some of it is my upbringing, some of it my personality. I had the personality of like, well, it doesn't matter how much it sucks. I don't care. I'm going to keep working at this thing, chipping away at it. I'm going to keep going. Not everybody has that, but it was also pretty miserable for, like, not like, oh, I was a couple months working through that with my therapist. So no, this is like years and years of, like, not that the whole thing's miserable, but there was a lot of misery involved with that. And there really wasn't a lot of people to talk to or to that mentioned about that, because I think everybody was trying to sell mindfulness at the time and make it marketable, and things like that. So I was kind of like, I'm a little bit upset also that people didn't put that out there. So on one hand, I've got this, but that's any like a real relationship, whether it's your partner, your brother or sister is like, I love you to death. I would, I'd donate my kidney for you if I need to, but also last week I wanted to strangle you. It's this, you can have both, and it doesn't mean, but you said you love me, and now you're telling me what a jerk I was. Yeah, because you were a jerk, it's both. You can have both. There's room for both, if you make room for it, there can be room. So it's kind of holding that paradox of those two things together. And so I was kind of talking to her about how, that was kind of what I was fed, but also as I got to studying deeper in suttas and even in the older texts, it's like, you know what? It's not always exactly kind of how the traditionalists handle it to me. It's not always sila, samadhi, panya. There's actually kind of this other thing of like, well, maybe that is, if somebody shows up to the Buddha and they're already like, hey, I'm ready to, you know, quit my job, leave my life. This is what I want to do. Give me some robes. I'm ready to start begging. I'm here for this. You don't just do that like on a whim. Somebody has enough, some kind of cultivation of, um, that I want to commit to this, and they have a certain level of something personal development. And maybe that's what he gives them next is like, okay, here's your steps. But yeah, there's also this kind of the path that's Dana Sila Bhavana, which is start out with before you start worrying about, oh, am I going to get my meditation right? Kind of get your heart right with Dana, and you're giving from a heart of generosity. Find out what that really is. That gets the soil ready in a way for the next steps that when you try to start out with, well, every article, oh, meditation makes it better and gets rid of your stress and blah, well, it can give you a moment, but if you still just keep living your life like you were and don't change your attitude, I mean, is it really how long is that gonna last? Just until until the until the ibuprofen wears off, and then it's right back again. You're never gonna you're just kind of putting something on the symptoms, and it's never really going to get better. But starting from that, and that's what I see going on when I come to this community. And that's also a paradox when because I've been practicing for like 7 years before I found Heartwood, and like this is the closest place that I can have an actual teacher and real community that says I'm available to people that want to learn. And of course, I have my ideas and expectations. Well, that's how the people in robes do like this. And it is not like it is not like that at all. And yeah, and so the opposite, when I first kind of came, I'm like, I'm a little pissed because this is not what I really ordered. I wanted this, but they keep serving me this other stuff. No, you're supposed to give me all this detailed instruction how to get my meditation right so I can go to the next. And she's like, no, yeah, go mop the kitchen over there. And oh, you know what? We forgot to order something for lunch on this retreat. Go back here and see what you can find in the fridge and make something for 30 people. What? What? Well, you're gonna pretty soon find out like, oh, my Donna's good. I send a check every month in my retreat center. Da, 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 da. I've got generosity and giving versus, oh, how much does this really rub against me when I'm like, I gotta give my frustration or I don't know what to do, or and you do that a few times, and then if you start learning that, keep going around and around with that, and then it somehow like, oh, I don't even have to give my frustration to do this because this is there's a need, and I just do that. And so that's it's kind of, yeah, it's sort of learning externally, like, oh yeah, these people need this, and you do that, and you sweep the floor for them, or you go clean the bathroom, whatever, and all these menial tasks, and when you do it all, every day, and it's like, well, I can either do this with a grudging heart, or I can do it with a not grudging heart. And oh, this feels better. So you start inclining that way. And then I go from just kind of neutral to like, oh, I'm finding joy in this. Like, oh, how, I just love the thought of I'm leaving this here ready for the next person. That's just natural. I didn't even have to, you know, let me generate some joy, which that also does not work. Even though it's part of the path for sure. As a matter of fact, during the training, and we had to like pick a subject out of a hat, and what did I get but joy? And my face is way different now than it was when I came here before. Let me tell you, I was storm cloud just through all. Yeah, everything's so bad, Oh, I picked joy as my Dharma talk, and I could, you know, do some research and tell you about what they say about joy, but what can I say from experience? That's what they say about it. And that's another thing. I really don't like how they say about joy. Well, you do this and you get joy. You can't make joy. Just like you can't, even a farmer can't say, what do you do? I grow corn. No, you don't. You don't grow corn. You just go, you till the earth, you make sure it's watered, you put whatever fertilizer, and you put the corn, and then you gotta let the corn do what it does. You don't know what it's gonna, you don't say, tell that DNA to replicate in there and do whatever and start growing and make corn. No, you just make the conditions that's ready for corn to grow. That's what you do. I support corn in its growth. Really, that's what a farmer, I support corn in its growth. It already does when everything's ready for it. And you can't, well, maybe you can. I can't make joy. That's one of I don't even know how many times I hear it. I work at the hospital in an emergency room, and even with trained people that are supposed to know how to kind of deal with people that are upset and off kilter, we get everything imaginable in the emergency room. And some people are upset because of situations. Some people are just mentally unstable on a regular day, and they come in, and I don't know how many times they're like, hey, you need to calm down. And then they'll tell them once, and then they're still, they hear calm down. They don't like that. I'm trying to express how angry I am. So they jump up. So then they tell them, you need to calm down. And then they go up, and then I need to calm down. Never in the history of calm down did anybody calm down. You can't, and never in the history of, oh, I feel sad, I feel depressed, I feel the weight of the world. Oh, you know what you need to do instead? Be happy. You should do that instead. You can't just do that. You gotta I've got to do the things that support the arising of happiness, And yeah, so I'm kind of mad that people did, it was kind of in there somewhere, but it really wasn't just put to me exactly. So part of that is also the frustration of, yeah, I'm following these instructions. I'm doing what this magazine article said and the newest what everybody raves. And yeah, I feel a little something, but there's no magic happening. There's no magic happening in my life. I'm so gonna keep trying. And so seeing that's, um, so I've like completely flipped over now, of my view of what it should be for somebody new coming into practice. And then so also that part's flipped over. So is my flipped over my idea about, oh, when somebody gets advanced in practice, it looks like this. It doesn't look like you turned into some unperturbed robot. That's not. And I think back when I think back on it, that was kind of this, because that was all my mind could grasp when I started practice, was that must be the only way to escape from this dukkha and this suffering. I have to find some way to just be immune to it all. That must, because what else? That's all. You just have to not, feel anything. But I also know you can't just totally numb it. I can't just just, totally disappear. I've tried that, it doesn't work, but there's some little thing way you can do that. So this, idea of like, oh, can I have heart, but also, not get so overwhelmed that I can't function and learn to balance that. So that's this other paradox that's like, that is on one hand, it's so aggravating, but it's also like the most beautiful thing is because, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out and I don't know how. I've got this idea of, oh, this is how it is, but I really haven't seen this ideal, what I've got from my picture of advanced practitioner, how they're just kind of floating along and bestowing things but they can't, they don't really come down here to speak on your level. Hopefully you can catch something falling down from above. So yeah, so there's this idea of that I'm like, but what really like made a change for me or like gave me some kind of, oh, that really inspired me, or like something about that person was, wow, that really affected me. And it's not always somebody who's making a show of it. Really that was when I really made my turn towards Dharma. I was just in a really ugly place, and then like I was really feeling like I was a pretty ugly person. I was like, but I gotta find, I knew I was at that life. I'm done with that. I'm not living like this anymore. I I've got to live a new way. But like how? I've never seen anybody do that. I don't know. And if it was just somebody up at the ivory tower, that's so unachievable. How are you? That beats you down because every time I tried to, oh, I'm not living up to that. Oh, I'm not, oh, I'll never be as good as you. And so, oh boy, now just pile some more weights on my back, squish me down, because it's like, oh, it's gotta be perfect, gotta be perfect. Versus I've seen some people who like kind of walk around in the muck, but somehow they're like, yeah, you get dirty, you got the muck on you, but somehow you're still like, shoveling out the horse manure, but you're doing it with a smile in some kind of way. Those people that, and luckily I had, and just a year or two before all the crap hit the fan for me was like I'd run into a guy and I was like, I don't know what he's got or what that is he got, but whatever that is, I'm gonna keep going until I got that. And that's what I saw about him that was inspiring. It was like, here's a man. Um, mm, he wasn't full of machismo, I wouldn't say, but there's no doubt when you come in the room with him, this is a strong person. It's not like, oh, I become weak because I'm not that, but um, he was also very stable. He could see people at their, hey, or during their states of elation, and he can be there and enjoy that. But also like, oh, and like also people come through the circle and they're having a hard time, and like, oh, I can be there for that too. And like actually know what you're talking about and not almost like belittle you, like, oh, that means your practice is not right because you feel bad. No, it just means the corn's only been in the ground 2 weeks and you already want it to be ready to harvest. You gotta keep doing your thing, keep waiting. Some of them might come through. This other patch of the field might not. This patch might come through real good, but something's gonna happen. And so having seen that person was enough inspiration for me to like, yeah, let me do that. So, looking back like that inspired me of that's like the idea that I wanted to let me at least be that, but I still had this idea in the back of my head of, well, that's kind of like this level. But the advanced people, they only, they pretty much starve themselves and they wear robes, they only sleep 2 hours a day and they just chant all day and they can meditate and do whatever they want and they have everything memorized and they know it all and like and that's their life. And occasionally people can come listen and then they go away and then they just sit there in their bliss or whatever. And well, that's the next level. And I don't know, I just haven't seen a lot, a lot of that, the but I have once I learned to kind of like, okay, let me loosen up my idea about what this should be. once I did that, it made a little bit more room for, okay, well, let me try it. Same thing. I was like, I'm in the program for a couple of years. Well, I'm here. This doesn't seem like what I wanted a training program to be. But I'm here and when I do something, I am a completist. So like, I'm gonna see it to the end. So I'm gonna see what, do whatever it is. And boy, it was very different by the end. And so that just, sticking with it. So it kind of turned things upside down. It's like, so at first I really had faith in this little regimented and, all the lists of here's so you do 1, 2, 3, and that gets this, and there's, this list for awakening and this list for mindfulness, and do those things and do it the best you can. And that's what it is. So like really had kind of faith in that. And it was almost like doing these other things coming over here was kind of started to almost had a loss of faith of that. I was like, oh, maybe that's, maybe all these, guys that have been, dead for 50 years in Thailand and Burma that I read about, maybe that's just for the people in the jungle. And that's not, that's not for me walking around in America and working a job. And so I kind of like, I started getting a little like throwing that away and let me kind of come into this other new idea more. And so I went from I like this, and then that, and now, oh, now this is better, but that's not so good. And then, of course, you turn it over like that, and the more you keep looking at something, then next thing you know, a few years later, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? All the things that we were doing here at Heartwood, both as in the program and just that they have the Sangha doing, then it's like, oh, I'm glad I did study those lists, though it's not this regimented, kind of military. Yeah, we're doing all those things just in this little flow of nature. And in the course of the day, it's like, oh, we can just check off the list of awakening factors. Oh, they do. But it's not like now it's time to do my mindfulness practice. Next, what's the next on the list? Oh, now investigation of Dharma. So first I have to get mindful. And I didn't have to do that a lot to learn, just get my basic meditation. Yeah, I gotta chill out and not be everywhere. Let me at least be a little open, not kind of come in with quite all my ideas and garbage, cut it down to a degree. So, and then do the next awakening factor of investigation of Dhamma. Let me check this out. Let me look at it, be curious, see what's going on here the best I can. And I try to do that just in my normal meditation. But, this rubs me the wrong way, or else feels really great. So I get excited and I lose my mindfulness. I'll come back. So I'm just doing that over and over, and just kind of in a little sandbox where I practice with my little cars. Like, here's how I would drive. I'm not really driving in my sandbox. It's not real life, really, too much. It's just that moment there, which said it is real, but it's not very interactive. But I'm kind of learning how the pieces move around. And then like, oh, I can't just check it out for a second. The next awakening factor, is energy, which means like, yeah, you got to keep at it. You can't just like try it once and see, or you got to keep doing it, keep investigating, not just I looked at it once. I got to come back and look at it again. What does it look like in the morning? What does it look like in the afternoon? What does it look like in the evening? What does it look like when I've had some sleep and I feel better? What does it look like when I'm hungry? So I got to keep doing my investigation, but I have to bring my energy in, which means, yeah, keep coming back to it. And as I come back, I can't lose my mindfulness, the first part of it, because I have to still, sometimes I start investigating, and as soon as I start checking it out, I also want to put my agenda on it. It should be like this. It shouldn't be like that. Let me just see what's going on, what it could be, So doing those things around and around and around, and a simple thing of just trying to watch my breath, I learned how the little pieces go. And like, oh, I apply that same pattern, and to my outside life a little bit. It gets to be whenever I'm trying to figure something out, it's the same thing as when I'm trying to figure out how to stay with my breath. I've just developed this habit of, what do I do in a situation where I don't know how to do this? Well, I keep trying. I try to be open, keep coming back. but keep checking it out. I don't turn a blind eye, and I also don't try to color it, make it how I want it. Just try to be with it, be with it. Same thing I do with my breath. I do for another little problem. It was so great. Yesterday, we had we're trying to figure out how to run all these microphones there's not enough slots to run these microphones in, and like, oh, they say you need this, oh, it was something aggregate. You need an aggregate. Yeah, it takes all these things and brings them together into one, and you can kind of lump them all together and run them in there. Oh, so let's look at, we could get one of those for microphones. It's like $4,000. I'm like, so if I'm not mindful, if I'm not gonna be okay, let me be open, be chill about it, but still be here, be honest and present with what's going on. Let me check it out. Oh, okay. The first thing I find out is, oh, the only fix to this problem is $4,000. Oh, that's no good. The energy says, well, don't give up after your first try. We keep looking at you. So she's looking on her phone. I'm looking at my phone, we're back and forth. I'm like, and I look at the computer, it's got the little Apple thing on there. And I found it says, this says that Apple, somewhere in the settings, you can turn your Apple computer into an aggregate. What? And so just because you found it, yes, you got it. And that's kind of your relationship. Yes, I figured it all out. No. And she followed the directions. Yeah, I got it. Oh, no, didn't work. No, that must have been a bad advice. Or maybe it's, from our article 2 years ago, they've updated the system. You can do that and you can give up. So we keep being mindful, we keep being open, keep saying, okay, I don't know. That's part of mindfulness is I don't know, but I'm gonna stick with it till I find out. We keep trying this, trying that. We didn't really, nobody got upset. You didn't start breaking stuff. And I mean, some people, what's wrong? What is not working? That's real helpful. No, just like, okay, just keep trying. It's getting a little closer. Well, let me try this. And what else? Keep going. So energy, which is that, keep coming back, keep coming. And I think I was in the other, just going to get a drink of water, and I hear, and that's the joy that comes from that. All those other things, we kept doing it, being open, keep trying, investigate. How do you do this? So it wasn't on cushion in a big fancy Dharma hall. There wasn't, all these people sitting, in front. There wasn't all a bunch of statues around, but we just did all the energy part of the awakening factors right here. It just all happened. It just played out yesterday. Boom. So, because, sometimes in those articles that I also, kind of like, you didn't really give me the whole story. They will give a little blurb at the end. Here's how you do your practice on the cushion. And then later on, you kind of do this in your daily life. And so my early idea was like, kind of doing your daily life is for people who really don't want to commit. And they don't want to sit down on their cushion. You're kind of, just wanting to play kind of softball in the county league. You don't want to be in the pro baseball league. You don't want to really do the real thing, which this is the real deal when you can sit in the jungle with cobras and elephants for 5 hours and it never disturbs you. That's how you know your mind is ready. Well, that kind of also got turned upside down because there's a struggle, and it is like learning, and it does take effort, and none of it's easy to develop a meditation practice to a deeper level. But else's hard is to live with somebody every day or go to work 5 days a week with some people that we're not always on the same page. And okay, well, how do I do that? So does all that stuff just go out of the window? And so this paradox had to get turned back over. Like, yeah, it seemed like this is good. That's better. So, I was just finishing up the Dharmacharya program when COVID hit, and I'm a respiratory therapist working in the emergency room. So, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm keeping up my practice, for 3 years before that, I'd had daily meditation practice, sitting for, sometimes hours a day. I'm keeping this up because I'm making progress, and I'm learning, and I'm figuring out about myself and things. And let me tell you, about 6 months in, no, I can't today. I just gotta sleep. This is the only time I've got to sleep. I'm so tired. It's exhausting. The demand and the mental and emotional load was so much, and just swimming through people crying and death. And it's like, I mean, I was remembering Bible verses about weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. That was my life every day. I can't stop practicing, but dude, I cannot. I don't have it to sit. Well, if I'm going to keep practicing, the only chance I can do is try and do it throughout the day, wherever I can. Catch a couple seconds here, paying attention there where I'm rubbing up against somebody else, what's going on with them. And I keep doing the same thing through my day. What's going on out there? What's happening in here as I witness that? What's going on here and there? And both the good and the bad. Yeah, there's a lot of it was overwhelming, but like also like, so if I didn't have that mindfulness, I would have been terribly overwhelmed. I mean, I was overwhelmed, but thank goodness I was able to also not get so wrapped up into this. I could also kind of every now and then, let me see what's all's going on in this room. It's the emergency room is terrible. There's people laying on the floor. There's nowhere to put them. Somebody's screaming, "Come help my mama! She's dying!" And I'm sorry, I can't. There's the y'all just we don't have enough people. You just have to go over there and be with her. But this is terrible. It's all. Oh, but you know what else I see? I see somebody over here. I see this housekeeping person. They can't keep up cleaning, but you know what? They're like, they see somebody over here that's cold, and I saw them go get a blanket. Take a blanket to somebody. It's not all ugly. It's like, where did that come from? Like, no, I can relieve some suffering. I can't, I can't do all this medical stuff, but your mom is waiting here with you and we're in there freezing. I can bring a blanket and relieve some suffering so I can keep being okay. Let me be open, or I would have missed that completely. And you know what? It's not like, oh, I'm just walking around singing songs now, but I had a little drop of joy in that day. It can sustain me through this. And got me through that. So it's this, you just keep going around and circling all these. And that's just the energetic side of this that we talked about, of the awakening factors of paying attention. And there's also, besides that, there's all this whole other side of tranquility and like also let me just have some chill time. Oh, I had to learn that lesson. That was terrible for me. No, if it needs, you got to keep on. Sometimes you got to take a break, and like the other side is learning about, yeah, have some tranquility. I think I was telling, see, I forget who I was telling. My memory's not good now either, but before I started the program, Pannavati was having a retreat at Southern Dharma before the Dharmacharya program really started, but I knew I was going to be in. I was like, well, here's a chance to go kind of sit an actual retreat. I'd been to some Dharma talks and been driving up from Tennessee to come to Dharma talks. I knew I wanted to be part of this, but I hadn't done like a retreat with her. So, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was mindfulness of breathing retreat or something like that. So it was like, oh, I'm gonna go get some like meditation instruction and refine and do this. And first early announcement was the Southern Dharma, and it says on the website, we are a silent meditation center. It doesn't matter what, it's okay if you're Buddhist or something else, but we're silent, come here for silence. And first thing being, okay, number one, we're supposed to be silent, but I always get in trouble. And so sometimes we're gonna be talking. Y'all just gonna have to get used to that. So right off the bat, and halfway, and it was a sweet group, I remember. And they were people, boy, they showed up ready to put the work in, but they were kind of like real, but they were just kind of grinding. And maybe the second or third day, she said, you guys are uptight. No meditation this afternoon. Your assignment is go walk outside and you go find some flowers or whatever you got to do. Don't come back until until something made you smile or laugh. I'm like, this is not how you do it. That's not right. You got to get in here and do your work. No, yes, I did have to. Okay, sometimes, yeah, to awaken, you also have to have a little break, because a lot of these people, most of us came from, yeah, I've been either working my job every day or taking care of my family and house every day, or both, work a job, family, do this, that, try to do my practice. And okay, go to retreat. Okay, now I'm really going to work on my meditation. It's not gonna it's not gonna do. It's like you're out here just, yeah, trying to grow that corn. You just keep digging, you can pick the weeds out every now and then, but if you're just shoveling around it all day, you're just gonna kill it. You gotta let it rest a little bit. So yeah, so I didn't realize, oh, and my idea of tranquility is only do these particular things, do these breathing exercises to relax, do this visualization helps bring, you can visualize light to energize yourself. You can visualize this dimming and going down to, and that, yeah, that kind of works. But you know what else? Sometimes you just gotta put down your ideas about what we're supposed to do and go for a walk. And then when you come back, you're ready to have that energy. And that energy leads to the next step, which is the concentration. I'm able to gather things in because I'm not so scattered. I'm chill now. But it wasn't like in the way I pictured it or the way I've been practicing. And yeah, I had some success with it this way and that way. And but like doing it so ritualistically mostly kept it on my cushion. And yes, I could get to a state of some equanimity that, the next step of equanimity that I really didn't think was humanly possible. I could do that in meditation at times. And it does kind of, you got a little afterglow that carries into your day after that, or maybe a day or two, but like it really wasn't with me walking around every day. It wasn't there. And so it really turned into when I didn't have access or time to that. And like, well, if I'm gonna have any of this that seems so great, I'm just gonna have to figure out how to do it while I'm walking around. And so it's like, it's just, oh, this is the best. No, this is the best. No, it's like, well, no, you need it all. And you got to find your way. And there might be what you heard about it. And you just got to start where you're at. And with whatever you're given, this is, that's, I love the Zen, metaphor of it that we're cooking. Here's 3 ingredients. See what you can make out of this. This is what you got today. This is how much time you got to make it. Okay, well, it's not always going to be a gourmet meal, but you can enjoy it still, or you can make something, and sometimes it's a total flop and a failure, and you learn and go on. So it's like trying these different ways and back and forth and back and forth, and so really what I just want to was feeling today was this whole like it's so overwhelming of like all these different ideas of like, if I look at it from this way, oh, this is the way to go. If I look at it from this way, that's the way you should do it. But that was this morning. I've been 20 different people since this morning. Who I was before coffee, who I was after coffee, before my walk outside, during the walk, when I came back. All this I had on my paper, all my Dharma talk, that's all gone. When I came back from my walk and I came into the little cottage next door and they were finishing up with music, and the presence of these people and what they were doing and the energy and the spirit of it was like, that whole Dharma talk just that's useless. That ain't no good. This is what's going on today. It just fell right out. And because I've been trained and I set the training and I undertake the training to be ready to switch up at a moment's notice, which is pretty dang frustrating at times. But also I was ready to switch up from no, I've already written down these things. I better stick with, I got to hit these bullet points. It could have been some nice give you information, but I could just as well go home and read this paper. It's not going to be a discussion. It's not going to be any connection. And so that's really what I like to do in Dharma time more. It's not like this whole download or lecture and take a lot of notes. It's more I'm a coffee table book, and maybe there's a theme, but like you kind of open up and here's some cool pictures, and it gets you thinking about like, oh, this would be a cool craft project. Yeah. No, that one's not so good. And like you just kind of get things going, and what works for you. So that probably makes, and so if you try to write it down, it's not going to make a lot of sense what I said, but maybe some of it clicks, today or now, some of it will later. Some of it might not make any sense till 10 years later, but that's what I've been feeling going through today. And so, yeah, so I think that's all I have to go from internal, putting out external. So I know we usually run, a little bit longer than this. So I like to just open it up for whatever. However, you guys, if you do discussion time after, or just open up for whatever you feel as well. So feel free to jump in.
Thank you.
I appreciate this because I've always observed my own practice as being one. And I had the kind of job and the kind of life that was the same type of thing where 20 things are going on. You've got to find that gem of joy, but deal with the 19 that are potential hazards. And even in my life now, away from that, but I've always seen my own life as being much more about what are you doing that engages this practice in your day-to-day, who's the person in front of you, moment-to-moment experience, and looked at my own meditation and concentration often at times on that stereotypical idea of something as just total crap. And, my mind still runs like a wild a lot of times. And my concentration can be all over the place. I mean, if I did a shirt that says, if it weren't for squirrels, I wouldn't notice anything. Sometimes that's what it's like to be in my head. And it's a hell realm. And I'm aware of it. But if I can stop being pissed off that I'm not where I would want to be there and just recognize what I am able to do in that day-to-day existence without the I am a Buddhist, I am a practitioner, and lay even that label of self down, that I'm probably living it out a lot more than I give myself credit for. But I know that I also, I can say that my concentration on, it's great to be a multitasker sometimes, but when you're trying to sit down and concentrate on one thing, your mind is just all over. Sometimes you just gotta go, how do I make a difference with this when I'm walking it out and live that? And that's like, I would say, that's one of my big tripping points for myself right there. Like when I look at myself this much time in and go, wow, you're just a little wiry bug. I'll give Pannavati a lot of credit because one day we were having a conversation about Zen, and he said, you could be a Catholic too, because either way, if you were a Catholic or if you go to Zen, you're going to get hit an awful lot. and it's funny. I mean, it's funny, but it's true. I still think about that. I sit down and just laugh and go, well, be a Catholic or Zen. Either way, you're going to get hit an awful lot. Just go love people and just laughing at me.
Mm.
So about a year ago, you showed up in a very powerful way. It was really touching what you did. And I think that's one of the things I remember the most. And the thing about how you speak comes from this place of beautiful simplicity, and you're extraordinary. And it makes me a little braver. It makes me a little braver because of who you are. And it was perilous. It was perilous when you came. And you did it anyway. You climbed up the hill to save people. And it was perilous. You did it anyway.
she said.
I think it's a beautiful time right now to look at all the bodhisattvas that were peerless and help, whether it had been just something small or something large, with profound gratitude, and then to instill upon ourselves to dedicate our lives in a moment to turn around and not necessarily pay it forward, but ensure the fact that we have taken that moment to do something small or large, known, unknown, for someone else. Because it was huge what happened and what people did. And to make sure that in times like today, that we still manifest that cultivation to continue that. Not because it was an event, but because it's a way and the only way.
Well, the thing I saw last year, which, was during the hurricane stuff, and I came up here to do some relief stuff, saw both internally and externally was, I mean, yes, obviously I had to make the intention and do the effort to get supplies and drive up in the hills and hollers and find people and, get them stuff. Yeah, I did have to do that, but for me, there was no feeling like I'm doing this or it was just like, that's needs something. I got it here. It happens to be over here. This is how it gets over there. So that's what happens. That's how it gets over there. And certainly there would have been a time in my life when it would have been a lot of that, like, I'm doing this or like sometimes, and it's not even bad sometimes to be like, hey, I'm trying to be a good person and do. They say to do this is a nice thing to, sometimes you got to go through it in this robotic way. I don't really feel generous, but they say to do this to me. Sometimes you got to just do that over and over until you get tired of being, and sometimes you just accidentally run, and then you realize, I just gave that without really this idea of, I'm giving this, so I can get a little tax write-off later or what, or, you just, and that just happened because you've done it so many times. So sometimes it does have to be this robotic thing, but really what I saw for me there was no feeling like this. It was just, it's kind of like when you wake up in the morning, you're still groggy. It's not that I'm waking up, just waking up is happening. It's like, coming out of the fog. I haven't really turned into Dustin as waking up and before, usually the first Dustin thing that happens is that I crave coffee, that comes pretty soon, but there's a little hazy area where it's just like something is going on. And there's just a feeling of, I don't know, something is taking care of other people. And so as I was driving around and there's other, people, just in the intersection, it was clear enough. You got people over here that, whole families just living in their van over here. They got nowhere to go. And over here, you got somebody just pulls up. Hey, I got a case of, I was able to get over here and get a case of water. I got 2 gallons of gas for whoever needs it. And they throw it in the middle of the intersection, whoever needs it. And these people were not like looking for some news crew to come, hey, look what I did, I saw that in all these people, and I know all these people wouldn't agree with me on a lot of stuff. And there was something that happened in that when it just, at least for a little bit, it shut that down and it give a little break on that. And it's like, oh no, there's a need and there's something about that compassion come out. And even, I gotta say, somebody, like some of these like very religious organizations, they had our church, and our church parking lot has a relief center set up, and that was some of the main hubs. It's not like when they have a lot, sometimes people have a long time to set up some kind of their mission that they're going to do, and they brand it and they're going to hand out pamphlets and all. No, it was, I mean, I know this over here at your church. I know you love Jesus, and that I'm sure I know if I want to come back here whenever once you get this place dried out, I'm sure you'd be happy for me to come, but come to church with you and tell me about Jesus or whatever, but all they're worried about is like, oh, what do you have? Propane goes over there, gasoline goes over there, water goes over there. Thank you, love you, have a good day. Oh, what do you need? Well, I'm gonna get you what you need. They were just, that was done. They're like, there's a time, but they're like, this is not the time for that. And I saw that all over the place. So there really wasn't much a feeling of, there was a lot happening. I know people were doing it, but that's the paradox, is like, just the people weren't doing it, but it was so beautiful because people were doing this thing, it was really something to see. It was something to see.
May I share?
Please.
I really could connect a lot with what you said, especially like just that you were in the middle of COVID and like your practice becomes something else, you know. I'm in the middle of being a father to a young child and having to work like 55 hours a week to support our family. And the training is not meditating 8 hours a day. It's really choosing to be love, you know, in that context, and letting go of all those selfish ways that I prevent that from happening, you know. It's not some big contemplated thing, you know. But what I'm learning honestly through all this is that there is a spark of life in us, you know. And what I heard you say with the corn is like you can't pound the spark of life to become more prominent. You know, we really have to create the causes and conditions for that thing to emerge, you know? There is this thing inside of us, you know? It's like this light inside of the light, you know? And all of the layers of the mind and the habitual tendencies, they push outwards, you know? And every once in a while, like if we can get to a place where we naturally come into tune with it, it invites us inwards, you know? And I think that light, it is the spark of life, you know? It's very fortuitous that you talked about corn. I've been reading this book to my son lately. It's called The Arrow of the Sun. It's a tale from the Pueblo people. And it's about the sun wakes up one day and he decides that he wants to send the spark of life to the earth. And so he puts the spark of the sun in an arrow and he sends it to earth and it lands in the lap of a young maiden. And in this way, this boy comes to life. And so he starts to grow, but the other children make fun of him, saying, you don't have a father, you don't have a father. So one day he tells his mother, Mother, I have to leave, I have to go and find a father, you know? And he sets off, and at first he goes to the corn planter, and he says, can you take me to my father? And the corn planter says nothing. And then he goes to the pottery maker and says, can you take me to my father? And the pottery maker says nothing. And then he goes to the arrow maker and says, can you show me my father? And the arrow maker says nothing, but because he is a man of wisdom, he fashions an arrow out of the boy and sends him back to the sun. And when the boy gets there, the son says, are you my father? And he says, perhaps you are my son, but in order for you to be so, there is something you must do first. And he tells him he has to pass through these 4 chambers of Kiva, which are like these ceremonial places. And the first one is the place of lions, and the second one is the place of snakes, and the third one is the place of bees, and the fourth one is the place of lightning. And so the boy sets off, you know, and he goes through all these trials, you know. He bests the lions, and they become his allies. He tames the snake, and they become his allies. He dances with the bees, and they become his allies. And then eventually he comes into the kiva of lightning, and the light of the lightning transforms him into a child of the sun. And he emerges, and his father like bows to him and decides, now it is must time for you to return to the world of men. And he sends him back to the Pueblo. And it is said that the Taos Pueblo people dance to celebrate that dance of life, you know? And each time, like even before he went and even after, there's this symbol that the boy carries called the spark of life, you know? And I can see that symbol as our original nature, you know? But it can't be, it's like we talk in our teachings that it can't be practiced or it can't be uh, pounded in. It has to become natural, you know? And like hearing your talk, what I heard is like, how do we naturally incline our life in a way where the causes and conditions give rise to a more authentic relationship with that spark of life, you know? And you can feel it when it starts to happen, and you know it's in people when they start to tend the flame of that, you know? Because the dance of life that they live is different. And you can't teach that in a workshop for 1995, you know what I mean? Just because
Mhm.
you do a year long of sitting 4 weekends, it doesn't mean that you have the spark of life.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that happen even to be able to hold it because it's a responsibility, right? Like when the boy returned from the sun, he had to show them how to dance in a reverent way, you know? So I appreciated your talk, and I appreciate what it is to be okay with where you're at in whatever dance you are, knowing that, hey, what are the things that I got to do in a natural way to be able to let this seed of life emerge, you know? So I think you're incredible, man, and it's been a real honor and a pleasure to kind of watch you grow and break against yourself 1,000 times over and over, and just to keep tending the spark of life, even when it hurts, man, even when it's painful, because it is sometimes, you know.
Mhm.
That's all.
But like, when something starts to vibrate inside of you, it's almost like overwhelming. Um, uh, and you know that something is birthing. You don't know what it is at that time, because it overwhelms you, so you just have to let it do what it does. And then it impacts you, it changes something about you. It changes something about what you think about yourself, or what you know about yourself. And while we think this is such a way of learning because that's how we look at growth, but it's really about unlearning. You know, it's to know. We think we want to know, like, who am I? But it's not even a who. You know, it's a what. It's not even a human being. It's not even ascension. It's that spark that you were talking about, um, is all inclusive of anything that has been and anything that can come. And when you get a glimpse of that, I mean, there's no words to tell you what that is, and then you discover that that's what I am. You know, I read some things like in the Bible, it says like, I'm the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And those are like just great words. That's so magnificent, that's so glorious. But somewhere in this journey, you get that inkling that not there's something in you, but that you are that. And that's what allows the samadhi to emerge. You can't like just have samadhi. You can't like just enter into silence or into meditation. What brings about that still state
is that flicker of recognition that you are none of the things that you describe yourself as or think of yourself as. Something jumps out that you are that. And it shuts everything down. It shuts your mind down, that busy running mind. It shuts your, it shuts your thoughts down. It shuts your way of experiencing life down. It shuts everything down. And that's how you come to that place of perfect tranquility, of perfect peace, of no thingness. Glad it wasn't my talk for today because I'm stuck right there, just on the power down. That just shifting from I am this, like I am good, I am getting better, I am just shifting from all of that. I am, even when they're better, and getting a glimpse of there is no personal I. Only if I turn my attention to something do I create something. But if I turn my attention away from it, then there is nothing. And finding out what that means is becomes everything to you once you have like a glimpse of the totality of things. It doesn't mean that there's nothing. Quite to the contrary, it connects you with everything. It sheds your you don't care whether things are good or whether they're bad. They just whatever they are. And do the best you can with whatever they are, but it doesn't matter. That's what destroys the distinction between good and bad. That's what destroys the differentiation. And you process walk in a whole different way. And you come to the place in the path that they call no more learning. Doesn't mean that there's not something for you to learn. The path of no more learning just shuts down our notion that we need to learn something as opposed to just realize we're just so inadequate. There is direct experience. One pillar off, touch a pillar or a bell. You don't have to have a statue. The next person you run into can be your holy book. Didn't realize you were having that much trouble with me. Am I don't charge your class? I'm just oblivious to the kinds of things. I heard, I got an earful today. Or about the medicine. I wasn't saying that for y'all's sake, I was saying that for the sake, sorry, where is it? Well, he's not here today, okay, great. Cause, what's his name? Brian is on the board up there at Southern Dharma, supposed to be silent, but we're not gonna be silent today. You know,
Uh-huh.
so y'all just have to deal with it. It was like Southern Dharma, y'all have to deal with it. Cause
Yeah.
we need to talk today.
Oh.
Uh, Well, it was like before I would have, somebody said, oh, this is what she's gonna say and this is what's gonna happen. And I would have said, well, I'm probably just gonna cancel all this then. I would not have chosen that one bit, but just, well, like just told you last night, it was I was remembering when I was first coming and I was like, I don't know if I belong in this. Like, I feel like this is, for people that are different level than me. And like, I really got a lot of mess going on and I'm a hot mess and, I really want to, but this, I'm a, my feeling is like, oh, I'm going to be trying to come in here. I'm the bad apple. I'm going to ruin the barrel, of all these. And I was like, I don't know, I should be in this program and all that. And of course, my idea ahead of time was like, a good, wise person is going to tell you all these things. And here's how you encourage a person and lift them up and maybe that's how somebody's been to classes about what you're supposed to say, might say, but someone with wisdom and can read your spirit and where you're at and where you're at. So what I got was, well, I don't know what to tell you about that. That's your problem. You're going to have to figure out how to deal with that and get over it and decide what you're going to do. And that was the encouragement that I got. Which I said, if somebody's like, oh, that's somebody that has no compassion, but you put it on paper, that's what it looks like. But if you're sitting in that seat, in that presence, it was the best blessing. That's exactly what I needed. And yeah, that's right. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If not, make up your mind. And if so, then get to it. And that's what happened. And thank goodness you can have, well, I don't know. Some people have to have courage to say that. But I think if you're not afraid of being viewed in a certain way, you don't have to have courage. You just like, here's the facts. You do what you want to with it. And so thank goodness I had somebody sitting in front of me who can be like, and it was really, that was the most compassionate thing to do, because you can sugarcoat it and let me frou-frou about it, and I can sit here and wallow in it and then do that. And then how far am I what's gonna happen then? Is that really compassion, or is that just like, let me smooth it over here for this discussion so everything feels nice now, but the next 5 years, you really not do anything for your suffering versus take this medicine now. It doesn't feel good to get this shot, but you know, but you're gonna be glad tomorrow and the next week, and there you go. And so, yeah.
Are you saying Pannavati's a vaccine?
For me-itis.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anybody else feel something they'd like to share before we wrap up? Well, then I'll read the one thing I will say from what I wanted to offer today. I'm going to read one thing and then that'll wrap it up. So at least my idea from yesterday won't have to completely get thrown in the trash. So yeah, we just had the fall equinox a couple of days ago. So it's like, as Rob was talking about the sun, so that we got a little bit less sunlight every day now, and it's starting to, the earth is tipping away, at least on our side of the earth. So for us, we're tipping away towards the sun. People south of the equator, they're headed towards more daylight, so it's different there. But for us up here, the days are getting a little bit shorter, nights getting longer, and we kind of start moving towards that. Oh yeah, like you might start to feel when you feel this little change in the air, feeling toward a little nesting feeling, like I need to get ready to get tucked in for the winter, and things like that. So I love this piece from Rabbi Jack Reimer. It's called On Turning. or sometimes it's called on turning, sometimes it's called a time for turning. To everything there is a season, and there is an appointed time for every purpose in this world. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter. For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means admitting that we have the ability to change, and this is always embarrassing. These things are terribly hard to do, but unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. May we be helped to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around, O heart of hearts, and bring us back towards truth. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us toward each other, for in isolation there is no life.